To order, please. If you will stand and join me for the pledge. This evening I would like to introduce Reverend Avery. Where did yours go? Please come to the podium. Reverend Avery is a retired pastor who continues in leadership with the National Association of Congregational Christian Churches. Immediately after the invocation, the pledge will be presented by Girl Scout Troop 11208, which is based in Cornelia. It's a multi-age troop led by Lee Lipkin of Clarksville.
Who just said that?
Yes? Okay. Thank you, Reverend Lipkin.
Let us pray. As we begin, I invite you to be silent, to breathe in, because so many times we become so caught up in all that's going on around us in this world that we forget just to breathe, just to listen to our own heartbeat. And in listening to that heartbeat, to remember that God is with us. To remember that God gives us our next breath, that God gives us love. And with that love casts out all fear and all anger. I ask you now, let us pray. Most gracious God, sometimes in this world we forget to be silent. And in all that noisiness and busyness, we forget to listen for your still small voice. We ask that you would teach us kindness, that you would teach us that fear has no place in love. We ask that you would teach us and help us to look around us and see you in the faces around us. We ask tonight that you would bless these young ladies who are going to come and lead the Pledge of Allegiance. We thank you for their lives, and we ask that you would help them to grow into young leaders and into those who will fill these positions in years to come. We pray for these firefighters, for those tonight who will graduate from fire school and will take their place in protecting the lives of others. We ask that you would be with all who protect and serve. And we ask that you would walk with us, with all of us. Give us your strength day by day to do what is right, to listen, to be merciful, to love one another. In Christ's most holy name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. Girls, you have to come up. Come right here. Go right up.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you. That's the bad one. As has become the custom for the city of Baldwin for about the past 5 or 6 years, we do a State of the City address. Tonight's the night for the State of the City. If you will give us your attention for a few more minutes before we get to our firefighter festivities. I offer these words to the honorable members of the City Council, city staff, Baldwin residents, business owners, and our community partners. Today, we are pleased to say that the state of our city is sound. The City of Baldwin's vision statement is to be a family-oriented community that strives to celebrate its diversity while focusing on innovation and strategic opportunity, economic opportunity, while fostering a sense of place for its residents. Throughout 2024, the city continued to achieve this vision through its staff, its residents, and its community partners. Investments in infrastructure and city assets ensure that Baldwin is prepared for the imminent growth coming to this area from the state of Georgia's planned projects, such as the inland port in northern Hall County, and from demonstrated demographic shifts, including population migration from urban to rural areas of our state. Some City of Baldwin Infrastructure 2024 highlights include the new Junior Robinson Public Works Building, which opened in October. The Baldwin Farmers Market was renamed the Theron Ayers Park in honor of a dedicated council member and public servant. Downtown City Park across from the Theron Ayers Park was renamed the Pit, and the electrical access was added, resulting in a more functional and accessible downtown area for community events. Speed bumps were added to Highland Point at request of residents, and city staff completed a federally mandated citywide lead and copper pipe assessment of the water system. Everyday Baldwin's first responders demonstrate their care for the well-being of our residents. We strive to make Baldwin a safe place to live and work through quality emergency response and readiness. Baldwin first responders are essential to the central fabric and day-to-day function of the city. Baldwin staff training hours and certifications exceeded state-mandated minimums. Our code compliance officer, a position requested by the citizens, will complete 1 full year with Baldwin in April. This is a true investment in Baldwin, as cities free from derelict areas statistically have less crime and more civic pride. The Baldwin Fire Department completed its first recruitment class, resulting in hiring 4 new firefighters who serve Baldwin every day. The fire department has also continued to make improvements to its training facility, hosting exercises for firefighters at Lee Arundel State Prison and neighboring fire departments. Baldwin renewed its hazard mitigation plan and mutual aid agreements with Habersham County and its municipalities in the event of declared disaster or natural emergency. Baldwin Police Department added a second K-9 to the unit, offered active shooter training at Life Church in January, brought in over $30,000 in grant money and equipment, and continued daily neighborhood patrols and community engagement. Thanks to generous donations from community partners and local businesses, Baldwin is able to make quality of life investments in its residents, so Baldwin is a safe and fun place to live. 28 community partners donated nearly $40,000 to support 17 community events where admission and all activities are free to the public. Baldwin celebrated Earth Day and the 25th anniversary of its annual cleanup day with 100 participants. The Back to School Bash enabled the city to donate 100% of school supplies for nearly 400 Baldwin elementary students and all classroom teachers. City staff cooked and served a free meal to more than 500 people at the summer picnic in July. Baldwin Police Department hosted National Night Out, a night of free food and fellowship with the community and representation from multiple local and state law enforcement agencies. In October, Baldwin celebrated its 7th annual Fall Festival with games, live music, and other activities for attendees. And monthly Movies in the Market brought hundreds of people to Theron Ayers Park for family-friendly movie nights under the stars. And that's where I got to meet the sweet girls from our local Girl Scout troop. We began a series of community-minded initiatives with very specific goals. In May, the city launched Refresh Market to provide a free space for local farmers and business owners to advertise and sell their goods. The city joined Georgia Municipal Association's Mayor's Reading Club, a statewide initiative to promote literacy in the cities. Councilwoman Carrie Davis started a silent reading club that meets monthly and continues to welcome new members. Councilwoman Alan Venter, Baldwin Fire Department and Baldwin Police collected essentials and supplies for victims of Hurricane Helene. These accomplishments indicate that Baldwin is a city that believes both in living within its means and doing good work in the community by meeting its people and offering support where needed. Every event was intentionally created, prepared, and manned by the events committee and other staff members to provide fun and free activities for families so parents can stretch their dollars and still enjoy a vibrant life with their neighbors and community. In order to be responsive to residents' needs and questions, staff and council engage in 2 annual retreats and a budget town hall. This is in addition to council meetings and state mandated public hearings. We believe that our responsiveness to residents' needs makes us unique. We are a hands-on team, and I feel that it shows in our phone calls and meetings with you, our budgeted items, and in our planning for the city's financial and community-minded future. Someone once said, "Show me what you fund in your budget, and I'll tell you what you value." We value you, and how we show it is by fulfilling Baldwin's mission to provide proximate and substantial services to our residents. Our plans for 2025. The City of Baldwin will continue to offer the quality services presented to you in a timely manner and will continue to improve our local quality of life. This year, we must focus on economic development, which might mean that we change the city's footprint by attracting new businesses within our city. Some of the goals for the year include diversifying our city's tax base, protecting our assets, continuing to build qualified staff to serve you better, solicit resident input in the new comprehensive plan to dream the future of Baldwin, respond to the Parks and Rec survey completed at the Fall Festival, review the city's noise ordinance in direct response to resident concerns, participate in the fire consolidation study with Habersham County, decide on our path forward on House Bill 581 with both Banks and Habersham counties, and continue to be a responsive city for all of its residents. I'd like to conclude this address with a note of gratitude to all Baldwin citizens, business owners, and community partners for your continued belief in the direction of the city. I also will always have a heart full of gratitude for Baldwin's outstanding employees. Thank you for all you do to make Baldwin a special place. As always, we welcome feedback from all Baldwin residents and business owners and humbly request participation in our decision-making on your behalf. Please join us at meetings and reach out with comments and questions. Thank you. Thank you for being here tonight. We'd love to see a full house. All right, next on our agenda, the fire department recruit graduation. Chief Roy.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So, first of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming tonight. I also want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing your loved one to be part of the City of Baldwin Fire Department. This is our first recruit that we've ever done. I'm gonna let Assistant Chief Benfield explain how it went and the funny parts of how they did. But I do want to let you know that we started in the first week of August, and they endured a full month's worth of hard work, physical training and medical training. We started with 6, and we finished with 4. And luckily, at the time, we were able to hire all 4. We were shooting for 3 out of those 6, but it ended up working out, so that was great. They went on shift in the middle of September, and I apologize for having such a long wait until we had this graduation. We was actually waiting on some equipment to come in, so everything went to uniform, and it took a while for some of that equipment to get here. Once they were on shift, they went through a week of hazmat operations and got their hazmat op certification. So the first certification was firefighter 1. That made them certified in the state of Georgia to fight fire. And then they did a week worth of hazmat operations and hazmat awareness. And after that, they endured another week of becoming a firefighter 2. So that's the next step up from firefighter 1. A lot of times you become firefighter 1, you get your hazmat, and then you're on shift and wait for the next class to come. But they were all able to get to firefighter 2 within 3 months, and that's a big step. So I'm gonna let Assistant Chief Benfield come up here and talk a little bit about his class. He's the one that taught the class. He's done a wonderful job, and I do appreciate that. He comes from Dawson County to the City of Baldwin 3 years ago.
Yes.
And become my assistant fire chief. He was the training officer in Dawson County Fire. And we're lucky to have him, and he's done a great job for these guys. It's all yours.
Well, first of all, I'd just like to say thank y'all to the mayor and council for allowing us to do this. These guys here, part is to tell some funny stories and from these guys. By far, you know, working with Dawson County, I taught a bunch of classes, but this one was the most challenging, not only because it's a smaller group, but these guys, I mean, their heart's there. So we got to see them grow. A couple of these guys, especially the one on the end here, I got to see him whenever he was about this tall. Getting on the back of his daddy's motorcycle up at Station 9 in Hollywood. Everybody's, when you think of a fireman, you think of a hero, you know, and we don't consider ourselves heroes. We just consider ourselves, we love doing what we do. We love helping people. And these guys, I mean, they put the drive in. There were some funny times. Some of them still can't do push-ups. We're working on it. They learned the physical aspect of the job. It's not easy. You know, firefighting is never easy. You know, we see things that people in their whole life should never see. But along with that, we develop a brotherhood. We rely on each other. And if I can ever teach y'all anything else, it's never change who you are and rely on your brothers. Because that's what will get you through this profession. Your dad, Jamie, you back there, we started somewhere around the same time. I mean, he's still in the fire service, and you know, it's what helps us get through is the family that we come in contact with, and the laughter, the fun times, the storms, mass chaos. It just draws us closer together, and it makes that bond even better. And I appreciate the families, you know, being here and supporting them, because it's a long journey. But it's a good one. You know, as long as your heart's in the right place, don't change who you are, and we're gonna keep working on doing those running and push-ups and all the other good stuff. And now that you've been through these classes, we get to teach you how to be firemen. So with that, you know, I just appreciate it. They're a great group of guys, and I look forward to doing a lot more with the city. Thank y'all.
Thank you. You can give us a hand.
Now we're going to give you this little challenge coin, a little history behind the challenge coins. I didn't know for a long time you're not ever supposed to buy these things for yourself. So these things are special. Like, you hold on to them, you can trade them wherever you go. The police department has challenge coins, fire department has challenge coins, the military. So we're going to give you your first one here tonight as a thank y'all for everything that you did, and also a little graduation certificate. So would firefighter Baldwin Parham?
Yeah.
It's also a firefighter's tradition that they normally don't get their helmet until they graduate. Unfortunately, they had to use them. So they had to work real hard on cleaning them helmets.
Firefighter Ross Shellman. Firefighter Jordan Evans. Firefighter Austin Tyler. This is your first graduating class for the City of Baldwin Fire Department.
Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah, you can. Left hand, right hand.
Get a picture of y'all holding up your little plaques, so I can spell your names like that.
If anyone wants to see them move really fast, just yell drill.
Don't wanna get into anything.
take a point of mayor's privilege to thank the families. Thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing your loved ones to join such a great career. My grandfather was a firefighter. I know what my grandmother went through, what my dad went through. So thank you to the families. Thank you to the gentlemen. You joined a great city. We're behind you, 100%. If you need anything, reach out through your chain of command, and please know that we have your back too. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda for this evening is the consent agenda. Approval of the council meeting minutes for 1/13 in 2025 and their special called meeting 1/22/2025. Did everyone have an opportunity to read the minutes? Any comments, questions, corrections? I need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion from Councilman Keith. Do I have a second? I have a second from Councilwoman Lehman. All those in favor? Any opposed? The next, motion carries unanimously. The next item on our agenda is public comment. If there is any Baldwin resident or business owner who has business with the city, please come forward. Tell us your name and your address. Let's give them a minute to file out.
Before I speak, I want to say thank you very much for serving for the police department, or the fire department, and I appreciate you, all the work that you do, and great to see you join the force.
Thank you for your kind words to the young man.
Well, I appreciate first responders, police, firefighters, EMTs, the whole force. I appreciate their efforts. I appreciate their willingness. So it was actually good timing that I appeared tonight to see this graduation ceremony. This was fantastic.
And terrific young man, and we were hoping that our assistant chief could teach the class for us.
I did have kind of a quick question. You said this is your first graduating class. How did you recruit and get firefighters in the past?
We had to find somebody that was already certified through the state of Georgia's firefighter, EMS, and hire them that way.
How you recruited? Okay. Thank you.
Well,
Okay, I am here tonight to talk a little bit about taxes.
Could you give us your name and your
Oh,
address?
excuse me, Paul Wolf, 170 Bank Church Drive, just down the road here a little ways. And probably remember I was here last year. And anyway, so I just recently got my City of Baldwin tax bill, property taxes. And last year it was 233. This year it's 563, 141% increase. That's astounding. So if that's kind of the norm for all property owners across the city, what are we getting for this 141% increase in tax revenue? What new services, wonderful new services are we going to be getting for this? Last year it was almost double on county taxes. This year, 141% on city taxes. Taxes are almost getting to the point where I can't consider Baldwin as my residence when I get to retirement, which is only a year or two away. I'm just kind of taxing myself here, taxing me out of the city. So again, my question goes back to, there's roughly 100, if this is the norm, there's 140% increase in city revenue. What are we as the residents getting for that?
So as you heard in my address this evening, our mission statement is to provide proximate, substantial services to you. So police and fire, okay? We also have a public works department that works in both Habersham and Banks County. We have a city staff that's available to you. Maintenance of parks, recreation facilities. So the services that are quality of life services, life-saving services these are the ones that we offer to you. And we added this year code enforcement, which has been a huge help, I know, at least on the Habersham County side. And we talked in the address, we talked about House Bill 581. So this has come from the state where, do you have homestead exemptions for the city and the county?
No.
Okay, you need to do that before April 1st, because House Bill 581 is helping to alleviate some of the tax burden on homestead exempted properties. So what has happened to all of us, and I'm on the Habersham County side, Carrie, you're on the Habersham, everybody else is on the Banks County side. What's happened is our fair market value of our homes has gone up astronomically.
But it was only up 7 or 8% last year, I checked.
Which is considerable.
Well, it is considerable, but
I-
still, that doesn't justify a 141% increase in taxes.
So what has happened is the fair market value has gone up. House Bill 581 will help to control that fair market value. From going up, it'll go up with CPI instead of going up
Right,
randomly.
I'm aware of
Okay.
that.
So that will be a help. The other issue on the Banks County side, you have lost the local option sales tax. Habersham County doesn't have lost. Well, we have it, but we give it over to the school board, okay? For you, it helps to offset your property taxes. What happened, and Emily, correct me if I'm wrong, is that loss this year brought in less money than it had in the past. So what happened was the Banks County side had to make up the difference in the lost funding. So the Banks County side of Habersham had an increase that was not unexpected. I mean, we've been talking about it, but more than you had in the past. And we did have a millage rate increase. So was it a perfect storm? Yes. So our fair market values went up. You had less money in lost to offset the property taxes. What else is in there? What am I forgetting? And everything else is just more expensive. I mean, Mr. Holliday is gonna talk about the cost of services in water and wastewater. Just what we're paying for chemicals for water is more expensive. What we're paying staff is more expensive. Our insurance for our staff has gone up. So we're all reacting to the price of services across the city.
Yeah, and I'd like to backtrack with something I should have done at the start, which would be a complimentary comment. For the most part, I'm very happy living here, and the services have been great, with the exception of garbage. And
That we talk about.
but
Are you still having problems with the trash collection? Or has it gotten better?
I think there was only one more time where I attempted to put an extra bag out, and they left it, and I put it back out the next week, and finally they took it. But I'm assuming that with a 141% increase, I'm not gonna have to worry about that anymore. One feature for everybody who's in the room and who's listening online, Ms. Woodmaster was able to build a property tax calculator, is that what you call it? And it is on our website on
The city clerk's
the
page.
city clerk's page. And so you can go in and you can put in your property taxes and see how it's allocated. So how many dollars go to police, how many go to fire? So you can actually see how your taxes are being used. And that, I don't know if council did that too. That was very enlightening when I put mine in as well.
That homestead exemption as well will make a significant difference in your tax bill. I don't understand when people don't know to do that.
And that's both city and county?
You can do both, and Baldwin has an exceptional homestead exemption. If people haven't done it, you have until April 1st, and we offer what, $5,000?
The standard is most often 2,000, but the city of Baldwin is 5,000. But the city exemption is different than the county. So if you apply for one within the city limits, you still want to apply for one in your county as well.
Are you a veteran?
No,
Okay. So is
just
there,
an old fart.
is there a veterans exemption?
Yeah, so we have a veteran, disabled vet widow exemption, there's a senior exemption, and then there's the standard homestead exemption. The senior exemption is $10,000.
Senior exemption is $10,000. If there are any seniors who are listening who haven't applied for the senior exemption, please apply.
What's the age of the senior?
65 by January 1st of this
65
year.
by January 1st.
It was just good timing. Last week, I got this bill, I don't know, a few days ago, and last Saturday, we had our annual HOA meeting for the Banks Ridge.
That's true, right?
And
Yes.
so I recruited a few people to come along with
Good,
me.
thank you.
But, you know, and I realize things go up, so the costs go up, everything goes up. So I always expect a little bit of an increase every year. But when all of a sudden I get hit with 141%, it was a shock.
Yeah. Lost, do you want to talk about lost and the
Yeah,
effect
the
of
loss,
lost?
yeah,
That was
so if you
significant.
look at, we have to do a 5-year tax history, every year, so you can see how it's gone up for the, the previous 5 years and how it's impacting that current year. And at the bottom of it, it will tell you what the percentage increase is for the digest. For the Banks County side, it was about 50%, I think it might have been 51%. Whereas for Hamilton County, I think it was like 13 or 17% because of that lost component. So everyone across the board in the city of Baldwin will have one set millage rate, which this year it was 9.17. And then from that set millage rate that we have for the entire city, the Banks County side gets pulled off, and we have to take off the amount of lost dollars that come in from the Banks County side. And then that difference, whatever is left on that digest, that new millage rate is formed. So for the Banks County side, the millage rate was reduced from 9.17 down to
4.728.
728. I almost said 872. So I'm glad I made it. And so that loss component is what does that to the millage rate. Otherwise, everyone would have a 9.17 millage rate. This past year, we saw the lowest in lost revenue that we have in the last 5 years. I do think that part of that is a result of a new lost agreement that we have with the county. That's the only thing that I can justify what happened. But every city in Banks County, from the meeting we had last week or the week before for the homestead exemption, they all indicated that they saw a reduction in lost, where Banks County Commissioner said they saw an increase in lost revenue. So that was interesting. I don't really know what the difference is because the breakdown was the same. But we did see, like, I believe last year we collected $160,000 in lost revenue, and this year it was $120,000. So that $40,000 difference has to be, I mean, it bore the impact of why it looks like the millage rate is so different, or why the property tax increase seems exorbitant. But it's because of that lost side of it that has to be overcome by the taxpayers on that side. Because it is split. Haversham County residents pay one side, Banks County pays another, but it all is collected into one fund, and services are citywide. So it's not like we don't have two separate accounts for everything. Everything is one side. We just apportion that piece of it so that we can account for that loss.
And I will tell you, Mr. Wolf, we look at the budgets and we look at graphs and pie charts, and the revenue that we bring in from property taxes is still only 25% of our general fund. So what we bring in from the homeowners and from the business owners of commercial property only accounts for 25% of the money that we use to run the city. So 75% comes from other revenue sources.
What kind of other revenue sources?
Yeah, there's other taxes. So you have excise tax, which is tax on beer, liquor, and wine. There's occupational tax that is paid by every business owner inside the city limits. You have insurance premium tax, which is cut annually. That's apportioned by the state. And so that is a collection source. Then we also have our GCIC department that runs background checks for companies. Offhand, a lot of taxes. Water is a different fund, but we do use our enterprise funds to help offset the general fund as well. It is a separate source though. But for the most part, it's there's other taxes, that aren't property taxes, that are making up the major part of the budget. I will say that I believe on the property tax calculator, you should see the revenue breakdown as well, so where all of the money is
I
coming
used
from.
that, it was really neat. It was neat.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
It was enlightening to see that, $7 went to the fire department and $5 went to police, or, whatever it was, to see that breakdown.
It's also for the city, I know for me, cause I'm questioned, why are taxes so high, why do we have this? And I know for me, I just wanna know where it's going.
Mhm.
I know that monthly I'm paying a phone bill, I'm paying an internet bill, I'm paying a gas bill, I'm paying an electric bill. And so I have all of these expenses, and I know that this is where the money is going, but for my property taxes, I'm paying once a year, and it's going for it's an entire year's worth of service that I'm paying for, and so I wanted to be able to break that down so that everyone could see just exactly where it's going, because that property tax calculator is just for the year, so then you take that same number from that column and divide it by 12, and that's what you're paying monthly for the services that are listed, so I'm glad that you guys used it though. If anything is wrong with it, please tell me that, I'm happy to fix whatever
I'm an
might be
Excel
wrong.
nerd though, so that's why I like it.
What, I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
I said I'm an Excel nerd though, that's why I like it.
Well, we are too, and it's incumbent upon us to be able to tell the residents where every penny goes. You hear so many people say, oh, politicians are lining their pockets. I was like, we're not gonna get you. But I am a resident, whatever we do, whatever we decide, we do it to ourselves. And I wanna be able to say to my husband, I voted for the millage increase, and this is what we're gonna get for it. I have to tell you, just for our police and fire services, my mom lives in my house, and when she is unwell, and I can pick up the phone and call 911, and I know our fire department comes to assist my mom, they're there before the county. One of the big conversations will be this year consolidation of our fire department with the county. But I know they're there to help me and help my mom before the county ever gets to me. And so I am willing to pay that extra to know that my property will be saved, the people who live in my house will be helped. Their services have been invaluable. And when I tell you they squeeze 2 nickels together, Mr. Holliday, we have spoken from the dais. We have upgraded the SCADA system, for example, that was put into our water treatment plant in 1987. We just upgraded the brain of our water system. It was from 1980. Imagine having 1987 technology in your phone. And this was running our water plant. And so we use things through its full and natural life. We're not a city that just, hey, let's buy a new fire truck, it's $1 million, let's go. We don't have that kind of money. And so we're repairing and, I'm amazed at what our department heads can do.
We got 3 fire trucks that are over 32 years old.
Well, I remember coming to the last meeting I came to last summer, you talked about fire trucks.
We'll wear them out.
I was kind of expecting maybe that was part of it. You're gonna say, well, we have to replace a fire truck that's $1.5 million. And I could have said, oh, okay, well, I kind of understand why taxes had to go up. I realize where we're at, where we might have to go.
Honestly, Mr. Wolf, when I came on council 6 years ago, so I came on council, I was elected in 2019, came on in 2020, and I realized the state of affairs in the city. I was afraid. I didn't realize what had happened with the city. We do rollback, we do rollback. And that feels great for us with our taxes, but that also means our staff do without. And can I tell the truth about the police department?
That's a public record.
When I found out that our police officers were bringing their own weapons from home, that's a liability. That is a liability. And I have friends in the GBI. what did I know about weapons and tasers? I called my friend in the GBI, I said, do all of my police officers need tasers? He said, do you want them shooting everybody? I said, no, okay, they get new tasers. They needed new tasers, they needed new weapons. Starting to do research about the wear and tear on our police officer's body. Do you know the body part that wore out first for police officers? It was their left hip, because they would get out of the car with all of their equipment on, and they would pivot on that left leg when they got out of the car. So we got a different kind of vehicle. We updated all of their equipment, their outfits. Things that were more contemporary, were lighter for them. So they were healthy, so they could do their job. I mean, I was aghast at the things that I found out. When Chief Roy's wife, not even Chief Roy, because he wouldn't tell me, when Chief Roy's wife told me they used to have chicken plate dinners and sell chicken plates to pay for turnout gear, and that part-time officers from other municipalities were coming here wearing the turnout gear from other municipalities. If I were in Demorest and the officer was coming here with Demorest equipment, I'd be angry. Don't go wear it in Baldwin, let Baldwin pay for it. So as ARPA money came in, finding those other sources of income, we were able to buy turnout gear for our fire department. We now have a little kitty, we've got a little stash of money. Every month we put a little bit more in towards a new fire truck. Instead of buying new police cars, we rent them, right? We have leases. So we've tried to do things to get our folks what they need at the best price possible.
Mayor, there's one thing that we haven't mentioned yet. When you came on the council, when I came, and
You're
I
right
was,
behind me.
yes, I was right behind you. The salaries that were being paid to staff, to our first responders, I was, quite frankly, I was angry. I was angry because nobody should risk their life for that kind of money. And part of the increases that we've seen over time is because we want to make sure that people get paid what they're worth and that they stay because they get paid properly. It doesn't help to have a great fire department or a great police department if you have massive turnover. So a lot of that was, and even city staff, we have to work on that. A lot of thought has gone into this, and I can tell you every single decision that we've made to spend anything has been vetted very well. We squeeze wherever we can to make sure that we do not waste any money. And it's almost like, look at the military. You can spend a lot of money and have special forces that are force multipliers. That's essentially what we did with everybody in the city. We hired the best folks that we can, and we make sure that we keep them. These people are all special forces level because they're the best at what they do. And we turned, as a collective, the city of Baldwin from a second chance employment source or employer to the first rate employer.
Be a destination.
Yeah, destination. So it's been a labor of love. I have high blood pressure, hypertension, tunnel vision, and every other kind of problem that you can have because of my job on the council. And I don't even do anything. So just know that everybody here, staff and the council and the mayor, we only strive to give our citizens the best services that we can. And we do not want to waste your money or our money because we pay as well, especially on the Habersham County side. And I didn't talk about that.
But that's the truth. The fact that in Baldwin Banks County, you have T-Splost. Your roads are better than my roads. Because we don't have.
Except for what
Yours
going
is
into
next.
Banks.
Yours is next.
And they told us
Yours is
6
next.
years ago it would be within 2 years,
Ours
and
is
now
the
we're
worst.
saying 2
I
more.
don't know about that, but it's definitely
Yeah.
the next in
We
line.
They
actually
put
have a
out the
list
flags
that we-
3
that
times,
we
and
keep.
every time the flags get taken, I mean, they're gone and then.
We feel like the
they're just-
redheaded stepchildren, if you can't
Yeah.
tell.
We don't have, our roads are horrible. Like,
Drive Highland Point, see what that's like.
The Banks County, the Banks Ridge residents have agreed at the last meeting that if you get that new road in, we won't organize a citywide tax protest.
Right.
But I understand, and Ms. Batson, you come to the public hearings that we have, you come and talk to us about the taxes, and we appreciate that, open the books, look at it, here's what we have. We've asked over and over again, if you feel the taxes are too high, what do you want us to cut? Do you want us to cut the fire department? Do you want us to cut the PD? Do you want, what do you want us to cut? We're not adding a ridiculous amount of services, we're not adding parks, I will tell you that when I came on council in 2020, there was a council member who said, not one more penny put under the ground toward water and sewer. And actually turned down GFA grant money that would have been free money to improve our water and our wastewater plants. And these are enterprise funds for us. These are some of the ways that we make money. We sell water to Demorest, and then Demorest sells water to other residents in the county. So we must maintain that particular infrastructure. I mean, that is how we make money, but it is also the quality of water for the rest of the county. If we're not producing quality water, somebody in Clarksville might get sick. Somebody, and that's incumbent upon us to make sure that we have quality water. So the water, the wastewater, all of that infrastructure is aging and needs to be replaced. If you listen to the meetings, Mr. Holliday talks to us, there's this screen and this motor and this, this is $30,000 or something. My head is spinning. My head is spinning. And so I spent the past 4 days at a municipal leaders conference in Atlanta, and we were all sitting there talking about these same things. And I said to somebody, I feel like Baldwin is in a donut hole. We're too big to be small to get some of these small city grants, but we're too small to be big. We were on a call with the EPA 2 weeks ago looking for funding for a sewer project, and they're like, well, you need a minimum of 36,000 people in your town. Oh, we have 3,600. So like that wasn't for us. And finding the money, we can't write a check for a new fire truck or to put sewer lines down 365. So when I tell you, my little notebook here is full of people that I've been contacting. Councilwoman Davis is hunting down Tyler Perry. she wants Tyler Perry to adopt Baldwin. When I tell you we are getting creative, we're trying to find funding for this because we are all in the same boat and we hear you. We really do hear you. So.
Now, is it my understanding with that HB 581, in the future, property tax increases are limited?
If you hang out, we're gonna talk about House Bill 581. Item
really?
number 3 on the agenda. We can
Okay.
unpack it a little bit.
Speaking of agenda, on every month's water bill, you announce the dates of the council meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Where can we get the agenda so that I can look at it and say, oh, I want to go to this one?
It's, as soon as it's available, it's on our website. The downside is that most often our agenda isn't set until the day before, weekend before. But that is just due to us trying to collect everything that we need to have and make sure that it's ready. And it doesn't happen until the last minute. And that is,
Mr. Wolf, I'll make a commitment to you. As soon as I get it, I will email it to you if you would like me to do that.
I appreciate that.
Sure.
but when they are available, we do put them on the website. They do go up as soon as we have it ready.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate you taking time for listening to a repeat minor.
No, we don't feel that way at all.
Appreciate that,
Unless citizens talk to us, we don't know. So we appreciate you being here. We appreciate all the neighbors being here.
Okay. And the road to Banks Ridge is next, right?
Yeah, like I've seen it. I've seen it.
When's next?
Thank you.
What they say about the roads and all being paved with good intentions.
Let me ask Scott, and then we're gonna, everyone like us on Facebook, follow us, and as soon as I find out from our public works director, I will share it on there, it'll be on the public forum, everyone can see it, you can hold us to account, it is the next one.
And we'll have a party.
Huh?
We'll have a party when that one's done.
Yeah, we'll go and tell them.
I'm the HOA president. Party at Dixie.
So you do have an HOA, I didn't realize you had an HOA.
Yes, we do.
It's,
I was
we
like,
don't have a pool, we don't have a running around. we
So
don't
we're
have-
gonna tear down the gazebo.
We are.
make sure you get a permit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Yes,
Hey,
ma'am.
I'm Sheena Chambers, and I live at 574 Walnut Street. Since 2017, I have been paying for sewer between $60 and $80 a month. Never been on the sewer a day in my life. This lady, Emily, I think, told me, well, this went in effect 1987. Honey, I didn't even live there till I was in 1987. I never had a water bill in my name till my husband passed away in 2022, I believe. But in 2017, they started charging him for sewer. I put in with Scott Bass, I can't think of the last name, he's supposed to be some city thing here. I put in with Tim Holtzy when he was here. I put in with Jerry Reeves, I don't even know the mayor then, about hooking the sewer. They said, well, you live down here on the hole, so we can't. But yet they still want to charge me. So I'm asking today, because I don't want to get an attorney yet, but I will. I want a refund. You told me in September. Oh, in a couple of months I'll have this straightened out, I promise. October's went by, not a word. November, not a word. December, not a word. January, not a word. She fibbed me. She gave me her word. She would let me know what's going on. Do you think I heard anything? Nah. She ignored it. And you know,
Is that on me?
it wasn't you, it was her.
No, we're supposed to, cancel the 2 accounts that.
But I'm asking for a refund for my money that I paid for sewer since 2017. And even this month I was charged again. I'm asking for a refund for my money.
Okay.
Because you owe it to me. Y'all talk about, oh, you can't put in no sewer lines. I have asked. I've filled out papers. I've took them to Cindy over there. I've took them to I don't know who else. And you know what I get back from her thing? Not even a phone call. Not even a thank you. Not even a nothing. But I'm requesting that I get all of my money, all my funds. I've got a list of how much you owe me. It's like nearly $2,000, over $2,000. But that is where I believe I am due my money from having to pay for sewer.
I can't commit to that this evening, but I hear you. And I will get with Ms. Woodmaster this week. We've got a couple of meetings coming up. I will get to her. And we will talk about the situation. Can I have your phone number?
Yes, because I've reasoned with her. It's just him, we put a,
You've
yeah,
spoken with
for
Alice
over an hour
too.
with her.
Yeah, but you've spoken with Alice too about this, so.
Yeah,
Right.
I've asked her, she keeps saying, you know,
Okay.
you need to come, she's the one telling me I need to come to the council meeting.
We don't have to say your number out loud, but if you will.
Oh, I don't
give it
care.
to-
I don't care.
Okay, tell me.
Okay, it's 706
Mhm,
968
mhm.
5550.
Okay. All right.
But I just can't understand, I mean, you know, if I went and done my meter, if I went and run my water from the other side of the water meter and never had a water bill but maybe $5 a month to go through there, would I go to jail? Would I go to jail? Cause it's what? It's stealing, isn't it? But if somebody takes my money and I don't get the service, you know, that's stealing too. And my attorney said that's something called theft by, is it deception or theft by something they called it, that I could get the city for
Okay.
because they took my money and
I
didn't give me
promise
service.
you, before the month is out, we will have an answer for you.
Okay, I'm gonna
So-
be waiting.
and I know, and you and I have talked.
Yeah, I've told
You
you
and I
plenty of
talked.
times,
Yeah.
yes.
We've talked, I understand. So thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Any other citizens having business with the city? The next item on our agenda tonight is a public hearing, Mora Zavala Special Use Permit, ordinance number 2025-01159Z. Ms. Woodmaster, do we need to keep it open for 20 minutes? If anybody is coming to speak in support of the special use permit, please come forward.
Could you please give a brief explanation of what that is?
Ms. Woodmaster?
Good evening.
Good evening.
The special use permit that is being requested is, let me flip over to it in our packet. It's on page 11 of your packet. There is a special use permit request for Mr. Zavala and Ms. Mora, who have purchased the property at the end of King Street. They have requested for a manufactured home to be placed on that property. There was one there prior to them buying the property, but it was a condemned structure. All of those structures, there was that one and then two outbuildings. All of those structures have been removed from the property, and they're requesting to put a mobile home on that property. The reason for the special use permit is because that the property itself, or the home itself, sat vacant for over a year, so it actually falls under the zoning ordinance as a non-conforming use property. In order to have a manufactured home on your property, the city council has to authorize that by a special use permit.
And they come before us. They've come before us. Yeah. All right. Anybody wanting to speak in favor of the special use permit, please come forward.
Where is that located?
The end of King Street, if you leave here and go left on King Street, before you get to the underpass, there's a property right to the right. It sits on the corner of Airport Road and King Street.
So there was already a structure there.
Yes.
It sat vacant.
They've
They removed it,
Mhm.
and so they would like to put another one there.
That's right.
Okay. And they need our permission because it was a vacant property
For more than a year.
for more than a year. Okay. So it's basically kind to kind. It's not like they're putting up something that wasn't there before.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's much improved since
Yes.
since the month ago.
Mm. Is anybody here to speak against the special use permit? Okay, we need to leave the hearing open for 20 minutes. We opened it at 7:25, and so I'll close it in another 15 minutes. Okay, we'll leave it open and we will move on with our work. Mr. Holliday, reports?
Yes, ma'am.
Water, wastewater treatment. This is our city engineer, Fletcher Holliday, with EMI.
Good evening.
Evening.
Hope all of you are doing fabulous. So I am going to discuss the month of December. You should have that report in front of you. It's the water and wastewater report that highlights some of the things going on at the water and wastewater plant for the month of December. And while doing that, I am also going to give you a brief summary of the entire year of 2024. So, should take approximately an hour and a half.
You have 10 minutes.
Yes, ma'am. But a lot of that information that I am going to highlight, as you all are aware, as the mayor mentioned, the city retreats that you put on each year, a lot of that information will be discussed in more detail. But to kind of highlight some of the items for the month of December for the water treatment facility, as you can see from the report there, we treated 76.56 million gallons of water for the month with a daily average flow of 2.47 million gallons. So it's just slightly below 2,500,000 gallons of water that the city of Baldwin treated for that particular month. And just so you're aware, and as mentioned also by the mayor, the city of Baldwin distributes water to the city of Demorest, a large portion of that water, and then that water is then distributed to about 2/3 of Habersham County. So a large portion of the county receives this water. And for the month, the city of Baldwin exceeded all drinking water standards for the month. The water plant has a rigorous amount of tests that are performed and reported to the Environmental Protection Division to ensure that the water meets all those standards, and for that month it did. However, I do want to highlight too, just so you're aware as far as flow, so you can see that we had an average flow of 2.47 million gallons for the month of December. To put that in perspective, for the flow of the water plant for 2023, the average flow was 2.149 million gallons. So 2,149,000 gallons, with a maximum daily flow of 3.2 million. That was in 2023. So in looking at 2024 for the year, you had an average of 2.1 in 2023. That is increased to 2.5 in 2024. So that's essentially 400,000 gallons per day on an average flow, with a max flow of 3.4 million gallons per day. So, as you all are aware, the flow is continuing to increase at the Baldwin Water Treatment Facility, which also increases the cost of operating the facility. More power is consumed, more chemicals are needed to operate the facility to treat the water, and then unfortunately it also creates more wear and tear on the equipment that is utilized. One of the things I want to point out, the water plant, is the ongoing maintenance that is being done over and over again. This past year in 2024, the city authorized the approval to repair the pump and motor, high surface pump, raw water pump number 1, which the city authorized. In addition to that, we have had 2 other pumps that we're having issues with. The past year, towards the end, you authorized the removal and repair of raw water pump number 2. We did just receive the cost. As you're aware, I provided an estimate for those repairs. The company comes in, pulls the pump, pulls the motor, takes them back, breaks everything down, does the repairs. I just recently received that, and I have forwarded that to Emily, and she and I are going to be in discussion about that. But talking about increased cost with some of the discussion tonight, that cost is $13,000 more than what the city originally authorized, due to, one, some of the issues with the pump are more than what we had thought. Wouldn't know that until you get down and break those items down. And then in addition to that, the material that's utilized for the motor and the pump, the costs have increased.
For a total
the total cost, I'm not sure off the top of my head, but the total cost, we're looking, I think, around $60,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. About 60 grand.
That's to repair the pump.
That's correct.
If
yes.
we were to buy a new one?
About 300,000. Yeah. And then you've got another one right behind this one. As the mayor also pointed out, these pumps and motors have been in operation since 1987. And this conversation will continue when we get to the wastewater side too as well. So that is one of the items that will be addressed relatively soon. But we continue to have those ongoing repairs and maintenance of those facilities. As you're aware, the water is pumped from the Chattahoochee River, pumped several miles, about 3 miles, to the water treatment plant where it is then treated, and then pumped to a water storage tank where Demers pulls the water out, and then it's also pumped all the way here. So there's several pumps or several tanks that are in constant operation in order to move this water for consumption of the public, as well as for firefighting activities that we were able to experience tonight, firefighters here. So moving over to the wastewater side, for the month of December 2024, the wastewater treatment facility treated 12.729 million gallons of water. It's 12,729,000 gallons, with an average flow of 411,411 million gallons. The wastewater treatment plant treats wastewater from the city of Baldwin residents. However, in addition to that, also treats the wastewater from Lee Arundel Prison, as well as a few of the businesses along 365. There are all, going back on flow, just to highlight what the flows have done over the past year, looking at the wastewater treatment flow for 2023. In 2023, we averaged, so in December of 2024, we had an average flow of 411,000. In all of 2023, we had an average flow of 348,000, with a max of 843,000. In 2024, we have an average flow of 404,000, with a max flow of 1.3 million. which is a lot. So, ongoing issues at the wastewater treatment facility are continuing. In addition, with the repair and maintenance of that facility, as you're aware, we have several issues at the wastewater treatment plant that have been brought to your attention at a lot of the retreats. We are looking for funds in order to try to move forward with some of those issues. One of the issues is the aerators. Last year, mid-year, towards the end of the year, you approved purchasing a new motor and then a backup motor for an aerator. However, we have two more that we have issues with. Just to highlight that a little bit, the aerator that you guys approved was in the aerobic stage. So you have 3 different stages of treatment for those of you who've been at the wastewater plant. We have an oxic zone, an anoxic zone, and then an aerobic zone. The aerobic zone is the one that's fully aerated, where everything's kind of flying up, misting, and creates all those nice aromas while you're there. The oxic zone and anoxic zone have mixers and smaller aerators. So the aerator motor and aerator and motor that you approved last year was for the aerobic zone. We're now having issues in the other 2. This wastewater treatment plant has been in since the mid-'80s, and we are having the same type problems as we're having at the water plant with just maintaining this equipment. So we're moving forward with of the cost and repairs to those. We do have some temporary aerators in there now. So currently for the month of December, we were able to meet permit requirements. You are regulated by the Georgia Environmental Protection Division and have a National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permits, NPDES. So for the month of December, you did meet all of the permit requirements for that facility, but with the ongoing needs of these aerators, we will be addressing those in the future months. Some of the other things that we are looking at the water plant are filter rehabilitation. Both of those filters will need to be rehabilitated. About 7-8 years ago, we rehabilitated the clarifiers. The filters have not had anything done on them since 1987. So those are going to need to be rehabilitated at some point in time. Painting the interior of the water plant, as you're aware, the operators have painted the filters, the piping, but we had some aerial type parts of the plant that needed to be painted, the columns and the support beams, and we do have a contractor that started work today that the city approved to paint that, so that's going well, looks good so far. That is moving forward. At the wastewater plant, we do have some issues with some storage, the tertiary filter rehabilitation, and then gravel road improvements that we would like to try to have budgeted within this next budget cycle. Ongoing project status at the water treatment plant. The mayor mentioned the SCADA system, that stands for Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition. That is severely outdated. The city has authorized approval with that. We are almost complete. We're down to the final few stages of that. We've got the majority of that system in works. We're about 95% complete. Should be done relatively soon. We do have some partial funding secured for the pre-treatment system that you're aware of. Once we get through some of the audit finalizing the audit for the city of Baldwin, then we'll move into getting final funding for that. At the wastewater treatment facility, we also have design plans approved by EPD and have some partial funding in place for the solids handling building. As you're aware, the city has already purchased the solids handling equipment, the screw press. Huber, the manufacturer of that screw press, are currently holding it for us. We just need to secure the last bit of funding once we're done with the audit in order to construct the building. But everything's ready for that. We just need that last bit of funding to move forward. And then some of the future projects that we can discuss in more detail at the city retreat, which will take about 4 hours more than likely. But we have the increased water production, which the city will need to look at some off-site reservoir at some point in time. Also need to evaluate the increasing water loss that the city has in the distribution system. In addition to that, we have a wastewater treatment facility that continues to have inflow and infiltration, thus the 1.3 million max that you heard me discuss. That needs to be addressed at some point in time, and we are looking at areas for that. And just to back up a little bit on the water loss, the city did approve EMI to move forward with putting in zone meters to establish those, which will help and assist with that. That has been approved, so once we do meet for the retreat, we'll give you guys an update on that. And then lastly, we're looking at putting in additional the wastewater treatment plant, yes. Putting in additional clarifiers and influence structure, which will enhance the overall operation of the treatment system. If you have been to the plant and seen that influence structure, it is severely outdated. But that is going to need some additional funding in order to do those particular projects. They are extremely expensive, but at some point in time will be needed for the water plant and wastewater plant. As far as operational staff, we are completely staffed up at the water plant. All the operators there are certified. We do have one that is now dual certified at the water plant and wastewater plant. He's able to go down and operate the wastewater plant if need be. We are one operator short at the wastewater treatment facility, but we recently put out an advertisement for that position and already have 3 applicants. So that's good. Ma'am?
Qualified?
Yeah, well, one is qualified too, but so the way we're looking for this particular position is that we are seeking a certified operator. However, we would consider hiring a operator that would be, quote, in training, that has the knowledge and experience to move forward with that. That would be perfectly fine. But to kind of piggyback a little bit on the councilmember Venter, who had mentioned about the city's salaries and what they are now, is that I believe it's a testament to what the mayor and council has done as far as the salaries for the city, the reason why we have these 3 applicants. Because it was about 7-8 years ago that we would continue to put out advertisements for positions, and we would get that big fat goose egg, and we would have to go plead and beg for people to apply. It's changed now. So thank you for that. Makes my job a little easier. But I know there was a lot that I kind of just dumped in front of you. Not sure if you wanted it that way, but there it is. So I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have. If you want to talk about anything that I've discussed or talk about something else.
Let's talk about something else. I appreciate your guidance. So for the folks who are still here, who are listening online, Mr. Holliday keeps talking about these retreats. We've talked about these retreats. These are 2-day retreats that we do with our department heads to learn about their needs. Councilwoman Venter, who I'm sorry couldn't be here this evening, has talked about doing a day or more than a day with each department. That's wonderful if you want to do that, but if you have a full-time job and you can't commit that kind of time, Ms. Woodmaster has changed our retreats in the past 6 years that I've been with Baldwin. So the department heads come to us and explain to us what's working, what still needs work, what needs funding, so we can anticipate as we go into budget time. So this spring retreat coming up is going to be really important because we're going to be hot in the middle of budgets, hearing what each department needs, if it's equipment that they need, if it's aerators, if it's fascinating. We also do tours of the water and the wastewater treatment plants, so we can actually see what we're talking about. And I spent my whole life in academia. What do I know about a wastewater treatment plant? And so actually going from the Chattahoochee to see the intake, to see the water being clarified, to seeing the wastewater treatment plant, and seeing what that wastewater then looks like that's being released back into the Chattahoochee, right? And that water has to meet certain EPA, EPD levels to be released back into the Chattahoochee. It's absolutely fascinating to see the full process so we can understand what these pieces are when Mr. Holliday comes to speak to us. Please know that the 2-day retreats are open to the public. We have had them at Hayes, we've had them at the EMI office off Luthi Road, And so if you would like to come to the retreats and listen to what's going on, listen to our staff and, work through some of these issues with us, we would love to have you. The press is always there. We do have our minutes for the retreats. So when we come to the dais and we're able to make quick decisions, it's because we have already spent hours thinking about these issues. We have a water group. Water group hasn't met in a little while, probably needs to meet again. Councilwoman Davis is on there with me, Emily and Fletcher are there too. We'll spend 4 and 5 hours at a time in water group.
And that's why they call it the water board.
Sometimes it feels that way, for sure.
Fun times.
But these are important issues. We talk about capacity. How do we maintain capacity for our own Baldwin residents before we sell to Demorest? Demorest wants capacity. Demorest is growing. But you're the reason that we have these enterprises, right? So these are important and difficult concerns for us, and we appreciate Mr. Holliday and EMI leading us through the conversations. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you. At this point, it is 7:45, is that right? 7:45, and I'm gonna close the public hearing if nobody else wanted to come forward. Seeing none, I'm gonna close the public hearing for, sorry, 2 sets of glasses. I'm gonna close the public hearing for the Moore Zavala SUP ordinance, number 2025-011597. Ms. Woodmaster, the next item on the agenda, old business 2025 qualifying fee ordinance.
We have talked about this one a lot. This is the final adoption of our qualifying fees for 2025. There are 3 seats that are up for election this coming November. So this ordinance just sets the fee in place. It hasn't been a recommendation of council to change it, so the set fee will be $35 once this is adopted.
Any other questions? Okay, I'm gonna read the highlighted part and then we'll vote. In ordinance number 2024-12155, an ordinance providing for the 2025 general election for the city of Baldwin, Georgia, to provide for a title for said ordinance, to establish and set the date and time of the 2025 general election for the 3 council seats upon the city council of the city of Baldwin, Georgia, to provide for the qualifying fees for said positions, to provide for the opening and closing of the qualifying period for said positions, to provide for the appointment of election officials, including the election superintendent, chief registrar, the absentee ballot clerk, the custodian of voting machines, the chief poll manager, the assistant poll managers, and the deputy registrar to provide for the last date of voter registration and for other purposes. Can I have a motion to approve the 2025 qualifying fees ordinance?
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilman Bencher. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilwoman Davis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Ms. Woodmaster, also, we have consideration approval of the second reading of the Moore Zavala special use permit ordinance number 2025-01159. Please.
So this is what we just had a public hearing on. At our last meeting, we did discuss an issue with the plat or the survey that was lacking on this property. Legal is still looking into it. We did find out some additional information, but it is gonna take time for them to work with the closing attorney to figure out what happened and how they can fix it. And so it was the recommendation of council for us to include in the condition that this is adopted pending a survey be completed, because either way, one will have to be completed, whether it's at the request of the closing attorney or the current owner, but the survey will be completed. We're adding a condition in the ordinance on page 12 that states the property owner shall submit a survey of subject property within 1 year of the adoption of this ordinance. In the event a survey is not submitted by the time specified, the action contemplated in this ordinance shall be rescinded. They are aware of this. We did talk about this openly. I don't believe that there will be an issue with them getting that survey as long as they stay in communication with us. What will happen once that's completed is we'll bring the same ordinance back to the city council to include that language of what that, the plat book, and page number will be.
Okay, so go ahead and read the bolded part like it is, take the vote.
Yeah, it's
and
ready to-
then- Okay. All right, in ordinance number 2025-01159Z, an ordinance amending the zoning map of the city of Baldwin, Georgia, by granting a special use permit to allow a Class A double-wide manufactured home to all that track or tracts or parcel or parcels of land owned by Montserrat Mora and Roberto Zavala, and being tract 1 within Habersham County, Georgia, and being more particularly described on a November 11, 2024 warranty deed filed in deed book 01382, page 00001-0002 of the Habersham County deed records, which is attached hereto and which is incorporated by reference into this ordinance and currently zoned as single-family residential R2 with conditions, repealing conflicting ordinances, to provide for severability, to provide for an effective date, and for other purposes. Can I have a motion to approve the Mora Zavala special use permit ordinance? I have a motion from Councilwoman Lehman. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Councilman Keith. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, the third item under old business, Mr. Wolf, House Bill 581. Let the wild rumpus begin.
It's an easy one. It's 2 parts, just say yes, right?
I'm sorry, I forgot my dead horse at home.
I know it's how it feels.
I will be as brief as I can, but happy to answer any questions that anyone has. House Bill 581 was adopted last year at the last legislative session. It became effective July 1st of 2024. There's 2 main components of House Bill 581. The first component is the floating homestead exemption that would be, it's offered statewide. The intent behind this exemption is to offset the increasing appraisal values of homesteaded properties, property owners. In the states, they've seen this exorbitant increase year over year, and so it puts that inflation restriction on the value of, or the appraisal value of a property. This exemption is only for homesteaded properties. This is not for business owners. This is not for rental properties. This is for somebody who occupies their home, has an active homestead exemption with their city and or county. And this exemption will be in addition to whatever that exemption is. So for the city of Baldwin residents, if you have a $5,000 exemption, that exemption does not go away or is replaced by the floating homestead exemption. The exemption stands on its own. The way that the floating homestead exemption would work is an appraisal value will come out, let's say for example, it's $100,000, right? Well, the year before that, it was only $90,000. There's a $10,000 increase on that property value. What this floating homestead exemption does is it says that $10,000, I'm gonna hold over here in a bubble, I'm gonna float it, and then I'm gonna take whatever that value was the year prior, that $90,000, and multiply that by inflation. So if the inflation rate for the year before was 2.5%, that's what's going to be added to that appraisal value. If it was 3%, whatever that looks like, then that amount is your total amount that is taxable to a taxing jurisdiction, your county, your city, whoever that applies to. That difference, that value comes off, and then your $5,000 exemption, your $5,000 exemption comes off of that. So it takes that number, not that it's degrading a value or telling somebody that their property value is being diminished by this rule. The valuation stays the same. What it does is it tells the taxing jurisdiction you can only tax this much of it. And this is the way that will happen. It also this law or this House bill also codifies the requirements for at least every 3 years, your property value must be reassessed. So that valuation is going to be looked at every 3 years by your taxing jurisdiction. That is the first side of it. The caveat to this is once you're in this opt-in, opt-out rule, once you're in, you are in permanently until a future legislature decides to sunset this rule. That could also be never. So this is a permanent decision, an exemption that will exist in your city until the legislature changes it. The city has no right, no ability. You can't adopt a local act, a home rule. You can't do anything. You can't change it. This is an exemption that will stand on your digest, your books, for the permanent future. That's what you're opting into, right?
Can we just add one
Sure.
little piece of that? So the value of my house would only increase by CPI, if that's what they choose, unless, right? So that's how Baldwin would read it, as long as I live there. But if I sold my house, right, then the new owner gets the fair market value at that time.
Yes. So the fair market value is being evaluated just like every fair market value ever has in the history of fair market values. The difference is that this law is telling you that yes, the fair market value might be $240,000, but you as a taxing jurisdiction can only tax this much of it based on inflation. So the fair market value stays the same. If you were to sell your home, the person that is buying the home will get whatever that fair market value is, and then their inflation will start from that point forward. That's correct. Your floating homestead will not follow you to another property. You will get it if you buy another property in that jurisdiction or another jurisdiction that is opted into this, but it will not follow you, and it does not follow the property. It is for you in that time.
So that is the question on the table right now. Do we opt into that or do we not?
That's correct.
Right. And there are many municipalities who are not opting in to this.
Across the state.
Across the state. So some counties are opting out, school boards are opting out.
I will say that school boards are choosing to opt out because it's an exemption only for them, right? So while it is an exemption only for us, there is this other piece of House Bill 581 that people are considering, which is the floating local option sales tax that's being discussed. It's not a guarantee. It still has to be voted on by the voters. And all of your cities and your county must have an IGA in order to put it as a referendum on the next ballot. However, the only way to go after that floss or to put it on a ballot is if every taxing jurisdiction in your county has opted in, or has an equivalent floating homestead exemption, which it's our understanding that Habersham County, they have this freeze exemption that exists, and that stands as their qualifying or exemption. However, they're meeting tonight, and their intention at the meeting that we had last week with all of the cities and the county is their intention is to opt in anyway. So this floating homestead exemption will exist in Habersham County should they adopt it for those property owners who don't have 5 acres, right? So the current exemption that the county has, you have to own 5 acres and live on it. But this exemption doesn't have an acreage requirement, so anyone who lives in the county that might have less than 5 acres can now have a floating homestead in the county. So the second side of it is not a guarantee, and there has been a lot of conversation about the floss being, well, this is the only way that we're going to adopt this exemption is if we can have the option to go after floss. The only way to have the option to go after floss is if every city and your county have a floating homestead exemption. That floss it will act just like lost. So the benefit for Banks County residents is that they have seen the impact of what loss can do to a millage rate. Floss would do the exact same thing. It is a dollar for dollar revenue reduction or property tax reduction. So if we've collected $120,000 in floss revenue, $120,000 must come off before you can set your millage rate. Just like loss does. You cannot use it to pad your budget. You can't use it to just buy whatever you feel like buying. It has to go towards offsetting that millage rate. It's documented, it's on your property tax bill when you get it, what that rollback rate was. So there are some restrictions on the flossed penny. It's not a traditional splossed penny that you can put towards a special project. It must go to revenue replacement or millage rate reduction. So, and the IGA that you set with your cities and the county, you can have this exemption, this floss for up to 5 years. So if all of the cities and the county say, well, we just want to do this for 3 years and see what it does, that's what's going to be put on the referendum. You can go up to 5 years, and then after 5 years, it has to go back on the ballot again in order for floss to keep going. Lost is a little bit different. It's negotiated every 10 years. But this is another one of those opportunities for cities to offset their property taxes. So the conversation publicly that everyone is talking about is, if we're in and other people or other entities aren't in, then we don't get the option to go for floss. But the voters from Habersham County and Banks County alike, between 62 and 65% of all of our residents said they wanted this exemption. Whether they read the rules or what floss is or not, there's a lot of conversation about that too. 65% of the voters said, we want this exemption. So it's our job as a local government to see that through. They wanted this exemption, we must figure out how to make that happen. If we have the option to go after floss, that's great, right? Because then we can reduce the property tax millage rate even further. However, if that never becomes a real option, the exemption is still what they wanted in the first place. So, any questions about that? I know it was kind of long-winded, but it's a very big, it's a very big bill. A lot of different parts going on, but of course.
I didn't go in depth in HB 581, but I did glance it over. And okay, am I correct in assuming when I read that these limitations, those old HB 581 parameters, requirements, are in effect unless the city or county opts out?
That's correct. It would be automatic. That's why there's conversation about opting in versus opting out. If the city, or if any city or the county is making the decision to opt out, they have to hold 3 public hearings, just like they would for setting a millage rate, to let the public know that they are not going to participate in this exemption. It could be that they already have a floating exemption and they don't want to add one, or they just don't want it. And that's a decision that each taxing authority has. However, for the city of Baldwin, last week at the joint meeting, our city council signed a resolution of intent to opt in. So what that means for us is, even if everybody else is out, Baldwin has decided we're not going to host public hearings, we're not going to opt out. This will become an exemption that the city of Baldwin has, whether floss is an option or not.
One other question, the properties you mentioned, something about the homestead, so it only applies to people who have homesteaded.
That's correct.
That's a private residence. So does that mean that I have to go through the steps, which I haven't done yet, to file for the homestead exemption?
Yes. File tomorrow. Yeah, file tomorrow. We can come to City Hall, we can show you the application, you can fill it out there, we have people who can notarize it, you can take care of all that at City Hall, but I encourage you to file a homestead exemption. Whether your county adopts this or not, still file a homestead exemption in the county as well, because it's a discount. I mean, you are getting a discount on your property taxes by doing that.
It's a senior discount in Banks County, or not discount, but exemption.
Yeah.
Is $20,000 off the assessed valuation. So it does impact, it lowers the amount of taxes on homestead properties.
For which county?
She said for Banks County.
Banks County.
Banks County.
You're in Banks, right?
Yeah. Any other questions?
Where do we go?
Come to City Hall. Come to City Hall. Go see John. He's at the desk in the middle of City Hall. He can get the application for you to fill out, and Aaron, our city clerk, will be the one to sign off on it.
So if I don't go through that exemption process, then I don't get this CPI max increase?
That's correct.
Yeah, your fair market values is gonna be
Like it does now.
like it does now.
How you see it year over year, it's gonna keep doing that unless you file for the homestead exemption.
Thank you.
Thank you. This is a big conversation. Big conversation. I mean, I was at a three-day conference and HB 581 was on the tip of everybody's tongue for all week. There being no new business, no executive session this evening. Under announcements, homestead exemption affidavits for 2025. Property taxes are due April 1st. If you do not have a homestead exemption, stop by City Hall or call 706-778-6341 to find out the exemption for which you qualify. If you have a city exemption but not a county exemption, contact the county clerk. Are there any announcements from council?
Yes.
Sir?
This is not directed at you, and I save my ire until somebody doesn't have their grandchild with them. I have always advocated for the citizens of Baldwin to come in and talk to us, and I appreciate it. Thank you for coming today. I really appreciate it. The one thing that I will not tolerate is disrespect towards our staff. I will not have that. You can disrespect me or anybody on this council. And again, this is not directed at you, sir. But coming in here and screeching at our staff in public is unacceptable. And I know of some events at City Hall where the gentleman came in and screeched at our staff as well. Come at me, please, with anybody on the council. We signed up for this, they did not. Public Works did not, our fire department did not. Nobody in the city staff signed up to be hollered at. So if you have a problem, take it up with us. My contact details are on the internet. For everybody else, I appreciate you coming in and voicing your concerns, valid concerns. And thank you for listening to us explain how things run the city. You were very respectful, and I honestly appreciate that. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else from council? Councilwoman Lehman's invoice. Yes, we were approached by some residents who wanted us to take another look at our noise ordinance. Councilwoman Lehman and I have a meeting February 6th at 10:30 in City Hall. If anybody wants to join us for the noise ordinance, be on that committee with us and work on that, we would love to have you. You can always contact me at salmano@cityofbaldwin.org, or reach out to John at City Hall and he can put you in touch with me if you want to join us on that. Any announcements from staff? Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn? I have a motion from Councilman Venter. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second from Councilwoman Davis. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?